Hey guys, welcome to M&M IELTS. Today's video is addressed to the speaking section of your IELTS because fluency is one of those factors which is the reason that a lot of students they don't get their desired score in IELTS exam. Speaking fluently, confidently is very important for your IELTS good score in speaking section. So let us see today what tips can be used so that not only we can be confident in exam, but our fluency is so good that the examiner has no other option but to give us a perfect score. Let's get started. The first tip that I want to share is listen carefully to what the examiner is saying and please do not interrupt the examiner. They do not like the fact when they are speaking something. Sometimes every examiner is different. Sometimes you may have an examiner who's speaking a little slow, as in the speed is very slow. So don't just jump and start answering whatever the question or topic they have shared. Wait, let them finish and listen very carefully. Maybe just concentrate on the words coming out from their mouth, because those words, when you understand and register, that's when you get a good answer and you can start making the answer in your brain, and then you can start speaking it out. But if you don't listen to them carefully, if you don't understand what they're trying to say, if you don't let them finish, you will be in trouble, because you may not end up giving all the answers that they are looking for, and obviously then you're not getting your desired band. So have patience, listen, and then speak. That's the first tip. The second tip is quick responses. Now, what does quick responses mean? When the examiner is done with their speaking the question or the sentence that they want to share or speak it out, now it's your turn to answer. After they are done, you cannot sit and think what to say, or giving those sound effects like actually no. All this will contribute in reducing your fluency score. That job of thinking has to be done when the examiner is speaking, and the only way to be that confident in exam is to have a lot of practice. Before going to the test date or the test center, you should have practiced a lot, especially with the repeated topics of IELTS, because a lot of topics they get repeated. Like for example, the most common ones like hobby or travel or food or movies or culture, entertainment. These topics are very common in IELTS exam. So it is very important for you to prepare these topics, and so that when you get something relevant to these topics or exactly same topics, you know what you're supposed to speak, because you've prepared it in the past, you've worked hard for it, and there is no way you can sit and think and take your sweet time to start the answer. Even after you start answering, you can't be like you just speak one sentence and then start thinking and then speak one sentence. No, you have to speak in a flow without hesitating, without murmuring, without giving those sound effects like no. That is a sign that you're not confident, that you're not well prepared. You have to speak in a flow like a story, as if you watched a movie and you're just describing the story. That has to be the level of clarity and flow while speaking out the answer. The next thing that I want to share is answer in sentences. When I say answer in sentences, what do I mean? For example, your examiner is asking you, tell me something about the hobbies you have and how do you spend your time performing those hobbies, or doing or approaching those hobbies, and when do you do it? So many questions the examiner has asked you. Now, if you say, if you give the answer of the first question, tell me something about the hobby you have, painting. That's just one word, or dancing, or cooking food, whatever. If you say cooking food, you've just given the answer in one word, which is not at all good or even acceptable, I would say. That will give you a very low score. You have to be a little expressive. You have to express your thoughts. You have to express your opinion in form of sentences. Like for example, the same sentence I would say, I love doing cooking. And the reason I love doing cooking is because whenever I cook, I feel like I'm meditating. That's the reason I would say the closest hobby to me is cooking. The same answer of cooking, I have carved it in a form of a sentence and then expressed my thoughts about it. And that's when the examiner will feel that, yes, this is what, we call an example of a good score or a good band. Not just saying cooking, okay? A little more descriptive, I would say. Not in detail, but a little descriptive and not being to the point or not being too brief. That's not acceptable. The next point that I want to share is whenever you speak in sentences, it is very easy for you to be off track, especially when you speak long sentences. So there is no need to speak very, very long sentences, just normal length sentences, and make sure that there is a flow in which you talk, which means the first sentence that you've finished and the next sentence that you are starting, they should have some sort of a connection. It's not that you start talking about something and the next minute you start talking about something else, and which has no connection with the first or the previous sentence. There is no logical flow and you just start talking whatever you feel like. That is not good. For example, if you've watched a movie and you come back home, and let's say you are sharing the story of a movie that you've watched to your parents, anyone else. Now, if you just tell them, let's say the middle part of the story first, then you describe the conclusion, and then you come back and describe them the first part of the movie, will it be a good flow? No. You have to tell them how the movie started and then what was the next step and how did it end, right? That's the logical flow of any story. Similarly, you have to maintain that logical flow. The way they ask questions, you have to answer in the same order. You cannot change the orders because that's not something you have to do. You have to understand what's their first question. The example that I just shared, what are your hobbies? When do you do it? And like whatever the third question was, let's say you can call it, what are your hobbies? Why do you like doing it? And when do you do it? If these are the three questions, I have a few hobbies like dancing, painting, and cooking, but I would say cooking is the closest to my heart because whenever I cook, I feel that I'm meditating and it gives me mental peace and it always helps me to stay calm. All right. So you have shared that cooking is you have a few hobbies, you've answered the question, closest is cooking to you, you've answered the question, and why is it, your hobby, or why do you love doing it? You've answered the question. And now the third question, when do you do it? So that can go to the next sentence. You need not fit all the answers in one sentence. So next sentence can be, I always make sure that I at least cook 2 to 3 times a week, especially on weekends because I do not work in the weekends, and I love cooking a meal for my family. Done. So you've shared that you want to cook 2 to 3 times a week, you have a plan, and weekend is the time when you want to cook because you're not working and you want to cook it for your family. A reasonable explanation for the questions they asked, instead of saying cooking because it makes me happy and I cook on every Sunday. This is not the way we answer our examiner because this is like an example for a very low score. Be in that logical flow and then be descriptive and give answers in sentences, and that's how you will get a very good score. Again, practice the most repeated topics because a lot of topics, they just get repeated in your IELTS exam, like food, I said, restaurant, hotels, entertainment, movies, culture, the place you're living in or any country that you're living in, about that place, about that country. These things, they get repeated a lot. So you should always have that list of most repeated topics in the speaking section, and you should prepare all of them at least once, if not twice. And so that if you get anything relevant to that topic, or if you get that topic in the exam, you're very confident in answering it because you know that you've prepared for it, right? So I hope you liked these 5 tips, because if you use them properly, you will have a very good fluency score. Almost 1/4 of your score of speaking comes from fluency. So you have to make sure that you're fluent in exam. You do not hesitate. You do not think a lot while speaking. And you should have that confidence reflecting on your face, in your body language while talking, that shows the examiner that the student is well prepared, is confident, knows what they are saying, and that definitely helps in getting a good score. With that, I'll take your leave and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.